Hola, amigas y amigos, y bienvenidos a esta lección sobre pronombres de objeto indirecto. That's right, my friends. In this lesson, we are going to be learning about indirect object pronouns. And before we get to the pronouns part, we need to discuss pretty in depth what an indirect object is. And to get there, we need to review what a direct object is. So let's go ahead and start there. Here we go. Direct object versus indirect object. So let's start with this direct object side of life because it is the more basic, more fundamental of the two, I think, and I think it's the most intuitive to understand. So take this sentence, and you can see in red here, that is the direct object. I give a gift. Okay? A gift is the direct object of that sentence. Now let's go to the indirect object side of things. I give a gift to you. A gift is still the direct object, but to you is now an indirect object, or has now appeared and is the indirect object. So what is going on here? How is it that what characterizes the gift as the direct object versus you as the indirect object? Also, I want to take a brief moment to comment for my big grammar people out there. You might be saying that to you is not actually an indirect object. It's actually a prepositional phrase, to which I say you are correct, but for the purposes of this class, and also I'm going to explain a little further in the future, why I'm going to treat indirect objects and objects of the preposition, such as to you here, I'm going to treat them equally, because in Spanish they are treated equally. But we'll get more into that in a moment. If you did not understand anything that I just was talking about with prepositional phrases and all of that, do not worry about it, because it is not necessary. I just wanted to clarify that point for those who happen to be in the know about some grammar lingo stuff. Okay, so back to our direct object side of things. I give a gift. Now, for me, I like to think of identifying the direct object as identifying the flow of energy. Look at this energy here within the action from the verb give. Where does that action begin? Well, it starts with me. I am the one doing the giving. And then what do I give? Where does that action flow? It flows from me to, hopefully you're seeing there, the gift. I give what? I give the gift. So the gift is the direct object because a gift directly receives the action of the verb. I act directly upon the gift. It is what is given. It directly receives the action of the verb. But now, let's go to the other side. I am still giving the gift. I am not taking and giving you as a present. I am giving the gift. It is directly receiving the action, but you also are kind of receiving a bit of that action. You might say that you are indirectly receiving the action. Look at this flow of energy here. I give the gift, I act directly upon the gift, and then you receive that action by way of the gift. The energy flows from me to the gift to you. And that is how I think of indirect objects, is that they indirectly receive the action of the verb. The thing that is given, direct object. The person to or for whom it's given, that's our indirect object. I'm going to move on here in 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going to push that aside and let's have a look a little more closely at indirect objects. So in our original sentence, I give a gift to you. We have the to you there as our indirect object. But let's rewrite this sentence as I have on the right side of the screen. I give you a gift. Now, functionally, What's the difference between these two sentences? I give a gift to you. I give you a gift. I personally don't see any functional difference. Yeah, the word order has changed a little bit, but the flow of energy is still the same. Check it out. I am still giving a gift. The gift is directly receiving the action of the verb. And then you are indirectly receiving that action by way of the gift. So here, a gift is still the direct object, and you is the indirect object. And, talking to my grammar people one more time, this is exactly why I treat to you and just you both as indirect objects, because functionally they are serving the same role. All right. So, that is how I think of the difference between a direct object and an indirect object. It's all about that flow of energy. But now let's put a little technical language to it here, and we're going to talk about the process of identifying these indirect and direct objects in any sentence that I give you, provided that they have a direct object or a direct object, which all of my examples are going to, because that's the purpose of this video. So, lenguaje técnico y procedimientos. Technical language and some procedures. So the first term that I need you all to know, and you've heard me say this time and time and time and time and time again, is the verb. Remember, the verb is the action of the sentence. So what is the verb here? And you should always, if you're trying to look at a sentence and understand what's happening in the sentence as far as what words are doing what, find the verb first. Always find the verb first. And you'll notice that the action here is that it's the am going to tell. That whole verb phrase, that's your action. Am going to tell. There's your verb. Now, where does that action begin? Who is going to be doing the telling here? Well, that'd be me. I am going to tell in this sentence. So I is what we call the subject, aka the doer. This is where the energy starts, with me. Now, I am going to tell what? What exactly is being spoken? Are you what's being spoken, or is it the story that's being spoken? Is it the story that's being told? Well, hopefully you realize that I am going to tell what? I'm going to tell a story. That's my direct object. And notice we found that by asking the question, what, after the verb. I'm going to tell what? A story. And that is a surefire, never get it wrong way to find the direct object, is ask the question, what, after the verb. I'm going to tell what? A story. Now, where is this action going to terminate? Where is the energy going to end? It doesn't just end at the story. That story gets told to someone or for someone, right? And that someone is you, which means that's our indirect object. You are our indirect object. We have told this story to you or for you. Therefore, you have received the energy, and that's where it has ended. Started with me, traveled through the story, ends with you, our indirect object. Notice the questions that I asked for each of these. I asked the question, what, after the verb. I'm going to tell what? The story. And then I'm going to tell that story to whom or for whom? You. And that makes you the indirect object. All right, let's have a little practice now. I am going to buy y'all a gift. Okay, not too different from our last sentence. What is the action here? Where's the energy? Hopefully you notice that is am going to buy. And that energy starts with whom? With this guy. I am going to buy. Now I want you to ask that question, what? I'm going to buy what? Hopefully you're saying a gift. And that makes a gift our direct or indirect object. Direct object. And I'm going to buy that gift for whom? For y'all, which makes it our indirect object. Number 2, we are going to give you a shirt, okay? The action here is are going to give, and where is that action beginning? Who is initiating that action? Well, that'd be we, we are going to give. We're going to give what? A shirt, and that means that a shirt is our dio or our io. It's our dio, it's our direct object, and that shirt is going to land in the hands of whom? That shirt is to or for whom? You, which makes you the dio or io. Obviously it's io. It's our indirect object. He is going to make her a cake. What's the action here? Where's the energy? Is going to make, right? And where does that energy start? With him, whoever he is. He is going to make what? Is he making her or is he making the cake? So that means that cake is our do, our direct object. And that means her is our indirect object. Okay, number 4. I bring food for Carla every day. Okay, so what's the action here? It's the bringing. And where does that action begin? With me. I am doing the bringing. Now, am I bringing Carla or am I bringing the food? What is directly receiving the action? What is being brought? That'd be the food, which makes food our direct object. And to whom or for whom is that food meant? It is Carla, which makes Carla our IO, our indirect object. Now, I want to make this little note over here. Notice that all of these sentences could have the IO first, then the DO, or the DO first before the IO, and the meaning would not change at all. So on number 1, you could say, I am going to buy a gift for y'all, or I'm going to buy y'all a gift. And in Spanish, those are both indirect objects. And we're going to treat them exactly the same. So if you see a format that looks different than what you're used to, maybe you're not used to the for y'all at the end. Or maybe you're wondering, how do I say for when you go to translate a sentence? Well, you're not going to, because it's the exact same as saying, I'm going to buy y'all a gift. We are going to give you a shirt could also be, we are going to give a shirt to you. And that would not translate any differently. Number 3, he is going to make her a cake. He's going to make a cake for her, would perfectly be acceptable. They mean the same thing. And I bring Carla food every day, or I bring food for Carla every day. Those sentences are identical. All right, so let's have some more information here. Pronombres de objeto indirecto. So now we've talked about the difference between direct object, indirect object. We've talked about how to identify them in a sentence. Now we're going to talk about pronouns, which hopefully will not seem at all unfamiliar to you after our last unit being all about gustar. And we are going to use the exact same words that we use with gustar, our indirect object pronouns, our IOPs, right here. Remember, we learned that when things are pleasing to me, we put me gusta or gustan. To you, if it's pleasing to you, it's te. To him, to her, or to you, formal, le. To us is nos. To y'all is os. To them and to you all, both of those are les. So if you feel you need to take the moment to write these down again, just so it's fresh in your notes, or you want to practice, go ahead and pause this video because I'm moving on in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So let's work together on these sentences. We might find that we have to clarify some stuff, numbers 3 and 4, but let's start off with the basics here. I'm going to buy y'all a gift. So how do we say I in Spanish? Yo. Am going. This comes from our verb to go. Do you remember the yo form of to go? The yo form of ir? Yo voy. Then we've got to follow it by a, because we learned our expression. To be going to is ir plus a plus whatever the action is. So yo voy a, then to buy. Comprar. Now, what am I going to buy? What's my DO here? I'm going to buy the gift, un regalo. Now let's deal with our IOP, our indirect object pronoun. How are we going to say y'all? From that list of words you just wrote down, me, te, le, nos, os, les, Which one of those meant y'all? It is os. Now, where are we going to put this word in the sentence? Do we put it in the exact same spot it is in English? Not exactly. We have an object pronoun here, and I see that we have a conjugated verb and an unconjugated verb. Voy is conjugated, comprar is unconjugated, so that means we've got options, and we have learned this rule before, but if you've forgotten it, write this down. Object pronouns. I don't care if it's a direct object pronoun, an indirect object pronoun, a reflexive pronoun. All object pronouns go before conjugated verbs or after and attached to the infinitives. This is the third time we have gone over this rule, maybe fourth time. Fourth time. Object pronouns go before conjugated verbs or after and attached to infinitives. So the conjugated verb here we said was voy. We could put it before there. Or we could put the word os after and attached to the infinitive comprar. So there or there. Yo os voy a comprar un regalo. Yo voy a compraros un regalo. Let's keep trucking. We are going to give you a shirt. We in Spanish is nosotros or nosotras, if we are all girls, are going. Oh, here we have ir, going to be followed by a again. So ir, conjugated in the nosotros form, is vamos. Nosotros vamos a, to give. Remember how to say that? Is dar. And then what are we going to give? That is a shirt. That's a direct object. And then do you remember how to say a shirt in Spanish? Una camisa. Now, you is our indirect object. So what word from our list are we going to choose for you? You've got two options. Te, as I've chosen to go with here, the informal. Or if you wanted to use le to be formal as well, that'd be fine. Both are acceptable. I've just chosen to use te in my example. So again, our rule. Before the conjugated verb or after and attached to the infinitive. Either one of those is fine. Then my little arrow right here should be pointing more toward the dar, the end of dar, because that has to attach onto it. It doesn't just go in that space. So nosotros vamos a darte una camisa, or nosotros te vamos a dar una camisa. Example 3. He is going to make her a cake. Well, he in Spanish is él is going to, oh, we have another ir plus a, so how are we going to conjugate ir for él? Él va a, and then how do you say to make or to do? We learned it with ejercicios a couple of units ago. To make or to do starts with the silent H. Hacer. Él va a hacer, and then what's he going to make? A cake. And how do we say a cake? Un pastel. There's a direct object. He's going to make a cake. Now, he's going to make a cake for whom? It's going to be for her. So what IOP do we want? Which one of those words from your list that you've written down there do we want to put here? Hopefully you're choosing le, and then that's going to go in one of two places. Where can it go? There, before the conjugated verb, or there, and again, that should be pointed closer to that hacer, the end of that hacer. It's got to attach to the end of hacer. Hacerle. But this le here, this sentence, él va a hacer un pastel, or él le va a hacer un pastel, this could mean that he is going to make a cake for him, he's going to make a cake for her, he's going to make a cake for you. This le here is very unclear who it refers to. So what can we do to clarify who this le refers to? Special kind of phrase? Ringing any bells? An a phrase. We can use an a phrase to clarify that this le refers to a her, just like this. Él le va a hacer un pastel a ella. Now there's no uncertainty that le is referring to her, not to him and not to you. Let's try another one. I bring food for Carla every day. I in Spanish is yo. I bring. Anybody remember how to say to bring? It is traer. Do you remember how to conjugate it? It's a bit odd. Yo traigo. Now what do I bring? I bring food, which is la comida. And then every day, this is an old one from Unit 4, I believe. Todos los días. Now, our indirect object is for Carla. There's a very important rule that you all need to know. Write this down. If there's an indirect object in the sentence, there must be an indirect object pronoun. So if something is done to or for someone, you are always going to include one of those words you have written on your notes right there. Me, te, le, nos, os, les. So notice in number 4, it doesn't say I bring her food every day. It specifies that I bring Carla food every day. But we still have to have the for her or to her. The le has got to be there. And where are we going to put it in our sentence? Well, I only see traigo, and that's the only conjugated verb. There's no other verb in the sentence, conjugated or unconjugated. So le has got to go right there. So let's go ahead and put it in there. Yo le traigo la comida todos los días. But now we haven't specified that it's Carla to whom we're bringing the food. So how are we going to specify that le is referring to this gal named Carla? Once again, I hope you're saying a special kind of phrase and a phrase. So let's do it right now. There we go. A Carla yo le traigo la comida todos los días. To Carla, I, her, bring the food every day. And it sounds very weird to us, but this is great, great Spanish right here. So don't forget this rule in the bottom right corner. If there is an indirect object, you have to have an indirect object pronoun. And we'll use an a phrase to clarify who that indirect object pronoun is referring to, like we've done here with a Carla, and like we did with a ella in the last example. All right, let's do a quick recap. I know this has been a long video. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Here's some examples, some practice for you all to do on your own, and I will have you do this in your notes. I want you to pick one of these. You don't need to do all 3. Just pick one and write them in your notes, and I will come and check them if you are here in class. If you are doing this at home, you are going to find there are answers after the repaso, the quick recap that we have coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the recap, but choose one of these to practice, and then you'll be able to check your answers against the end of the video. Here we go. Repaso. So what we've learned, direct objects receive action directly from the subject. In other words, whatever the doer of the action acts upon is the direct object. Number 2, indirect objects, oops, there shouldn't be a space there between in and direct. Indirect objects receive action indirectly from the subject. In other words, the doer of the action acts upon the DO, and then the DO acts upon the IO, the indirect object. In Spanish, if a sentence has an indirect object, it must have an indirect object pronoun. So even though it doesn't say to her in the sentence, you're still going to have the word to her, le, and then clarify who that refers to with an a phrase. Here's your IOPs. Me, te, le, nos, os, les. That we then must use an a phrase to specify the gender or the name of an IOP. So we've got the examples, yo le compro chocolates. I buy chocolates for him, for her, or for you, possibly. That's very unclear, but let's use an a phrase like I've done here. Yo le compro chocolates a Juan. Now it is Juan for whom I have bought the chocolates. Here's those practice sentences one more time, and here are the answers coming up in 3, 2, 1. Pause if you need to. There you have your responses. Gracias por su atención durante esta lección. Hasta la próxima. Chao.